Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dean Rogers. Welcome to another episode of Deals with Dean. Today, we're going to talk about a deal that we quickly got under contract, quickly sold to a buyer, and then the seller went MIA for a week. If you want to know how this one turned out, stay tuned for the details. Let's go. All right, welcome back. Before we get started, if you could subscribe and smash that like button, it'll do a lot to help this channel. Okay, so on this deal, the quick hard facts are this was a lead that came through one of our TV ads. Came through, we were negotiating back and forth, landed on a price, got it under contract, signed in person pretty quickly. I then turned around and had just text messaged a buyer that I knew would absolutely love the house and quickly got it sold to that buyer. They agreed to purchase the property sight unseen, so all we had to do was get escrow opened, move it through the process, and get it closed. They were paying cash, so we could close as quickly as escrow could move. So we got escrow open, we got the ball rolling, everything was looking fine, but then the seller just stopped responding to us, and it kept going on day after day. It had almost been a week since we had heard from the seller, and we were starting to get suspicious that they were up to something or something happened to them. Well, right around that time, I got a text message from one of my fellow investors, one of my buddies, that he had a property he was checking out and wanted to get my opinion on the value and where the deal made sense. So he sent me over the zip code first. I said, yes, we certainly have buyers ready to go around that price point. I asked what the address was. As soon as he sent me the address, I recognized it. I knew I recognized it right away, checked my deal sheet and knew it was that deal we already had under contract. Now, this is where the story gets interesting. As I said, we already had the property under contract and in escrow and sold to an end buyer. So we were pretty much ready to move forward and get this thing done. Well, the seller had not been responding to us, and it turns out they were shopping around for other offers still. Well, they already knew they were in a legal binding contract, but sometimes sellers either unknowingly still continue to look for offers or knowingly look for other offers and try to use your offer to get additional higher offers. Now, of course, anytime this happens, either us or someone else reminds the seller that they're in a legal binding contract and it's not in their best interest to try to skate around us and cut us out of the deal and go with someone else because they've already agreed to move forward with us. All right, so here's what happened next. My buddy calls me after he leaves the appointment and he's like, bro, you won't believe what happened. You're killing me over here. So the story goes, he's walking the house with this seller. Now, how did he even come across this lead in the first place? Well, we all know investors eventually will, bump into each other, cross roads as they're working with sellers that are interested in selling their property. Now, in this case, my buddy who was at the property had actually received the lead from another mutual investor and friend. Now, this is where the beauty of having a community is really important for your success, not only just for more opportunities, but they can have your back in these exact same situations. Now, here's what happened. Our mutual friend had a relationship with the seller, a friendship with the seller, and the seller had shared that they wanted to sell. Now, that friend didn't want to get involved and mix friendship with business. So they had basically brought on one of our mutual friends to go on the appointment on their behalf. Now, between that time, actually before that had happened, they had seen our commercial on TV and reached out and again came to an agreement, signed a contract. Well, after doing so, they went ahead and still had that appointment with our mutual friend, at which point they walked through the house, and believe it or not, while they're on the appointment, my TV commercial comes on the TV. They stop, pause, watch the commercial, and at the end, the seller turns to my buddy and says, "Do you have a TV commercial?" My buddy just kind of shook his head. "No, I don't have one." And at that point knew he probably wasn't going to win the deal if it was a head-to-head battle. Well, as I mentioned, again, we already had it under contract, but my buddy didn't know it at the time, so he called me to tell me the full story. Well, I let him know we have it under contract and that we actually have escrow opened and we're ready to get this thing closed. That's when he told me the whole story about our other mutual friend who brought the lead to him to work together. And so I, expressed my desire for them to help me make it clear to the seller that they have a legal binding contract with us, and to continue to see that through and get the deal closed, because trying to then sell it to someone else is, a breach of contract and can lead to issues. So because we're all good friends, they went ahead, had my back, and told the seller about the situation. And to no one's surprise, the seller was all of a sudden back on track, communicating with escrow, communicating with us, and we were on our way to close. So it's pretty much smooth sailing from that point forward. It was just coordinating really the seller signing and getting the seller out of the property, right? And then we were able to get this deal closed. Now this turned into a solid profit deal for us, which was a $25,000 profit on this deal. We got it closed. Now, of course, there's always some sort of fun drama on this one. After the close of escrow, there was someone related to the seller who was actually living in a motorhome in the back of the property, probably selling drugs, and was giving the buyer some trouble to get access to the property and start the project. Now that all got sorted out over the next week or so, but at the end of the day, we got the deal closed. The buyer performed without any issues. Our friends that we had that ended up walking the property and that had the lead come to them in the first place had our backs. So this is just another great example of building your community with other investors and looking at them not as competition, but as an opportunity for partnership. Now, in this case, we already had the deal under contract, so they stepped aside and let us finish the deal through. But a great lesson, if this does ever happen to you, which almost inevitably it will, if you don't have it under contract, be open to working that deal together with that other investor rather than be competition. Would you rather have some of the pie versus all or none of the pie? I'd much rather have some of the pie if I'm sharing it with someone else rather than no pie, because that means we can win together, build a stronger relationship, and focus on doing more deals. So hope this video was helpful. Until next time, peace.